Detroit. The Biden administration's decision to ease its timeline for all-electric vehicle adoption and give automakers more ways to meet new tailpipe emissions standards is expected to be a win for legacy automakers. The new Environmental Protection Agency rules released Wednesday aim to cut tailpipe emissions by 49% between model years 2027 and 2032. The EPA set a target for EVs to make up at least 35% of new vehicle sales by 2032. The standards are less ambitious than proposed rules released last year, which targeted a 56% reduction in emissions by 2032 and called for EVs to represent 67% of new vehicles by that year. The lower expectation for EV adoption comes amid slower than expected sales of the vehicles, which can cost tens of thousands of dollars more than their traditional gas counterparts. The EPA's new strategy for cutting tailpipe emissions doesn't focus only on EVs. It took into account more efficient gasoline engines, hybrids and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. The EPA's percentage targets for EV adoption are not mandates but expectations for how automakers could meet the emissions regulations. The target range for the share of EV sales in the market in 2032 is between 35% and 56%. The EPA said the standards will avoid more than 7 billion tons of carbon emissions and provide nearly $100 billion of annual net benefits to society. It said those include $13 billion of annual public health benefits due to improved air quality, along with $62 billion in reduced annual fuel costs and maintenance and repair costs for drivers. Here are some key takeaways about what the new guidelines mean for automakers, investors and the environment. Automotive officials and Wall Street analysts are touting the altered rules as a major win for legacy automakers, specifically the traditional Detroit automakers General Motors, Ford Motor and Chrysler parent Stellantis, which largely rely on big SUVs and trucks to make profits. We view this development as positive for traditional U.S. automakers, since the new rules put less pressure on them to ramp up EV production in the near term, and could even potentially enable them to reduce further EV capex and R&D. Deutsche Bank analyst Emmanuel Rosner said Thursday in an investor note. John Bozzella, president and CEO of the Alliance for Automotive Innovation, a lobbying group that represents most automakers in the U.S., agreed. Moderating the pace of EV adoption in 2027, 2028, 2029 and 2030 was the right call because it prioritizes more reasonable electrification targets in the next few, very critical, years of the EV transition, he said. The new rules also are a victory for the Detroit-based United Auto Workers Union, which has raised concerns about how the transition from internal combustion engines to EVs could affect jobs.